So, since I did the 5 banned cards, the 5 banned link monsters, I should say, video the other day, I kind of want to sit down and talk about the Exceed monsters for the TCG list that could probably come back. And honestly, it's very hard to pinpoint which ones are the best to talk about out of the only 15 that are banned in the TCG, while the OCG, on the other hand, only has 11. So really, we are looking at a fine line. So let's talk about them. Now, a few of them, in my opinion, can't come back because they stun the opponent, like Outer Entity Azathoth and True King of All Calamities, or even number S0 Utopic Zexal. So there's a few of them that can't come back, or even things like Beatrice, because of meta prevalence or how much they stun the opponent with certain strategies. So let's talk about these ones and let's go through them. So the first two are quite obvious. I'm going to be talking about is Wind Up Carrier Zenmaity. This card has been on the Forbidden list. I think it's even the first limited Exceed monster all the way back in the day, and it has been on the ban list pretty much ever since 2012. So looking at it nowadays, windups don't even do anything, and this is shown that sure, people are playing it for fun, but in my opinion, windups are a deck that has definitely aged to time. Even though Inzektors and windups are both still very scary decks to give support to, both of the themes, well, Inzektors have everything off the list, while windups still have carries and Mayday at 0, while the OCG has this at 3, while they have Windup Hunter Forbidden. Now, people always explain, let's swap the two on the Forbidden Limited list so this could be legal and free, but in my opinion, with how decks like Mermail are, we have hand loop decks and cards legal in the format. So realistically, having another hand loop that is very susceptible to hand traps is really, really good. And on top of that, we have so much hand trap equity in the game that it's gonna be hard for windups to do anything without something like Cross-Up Designator or Call by the Grave, or this card, and the list goes on, like the Triple Tactics Talent. But realistically, I definitely think that this Windup Carry Zenmaity can come back off the Forbidden Unlimited list because it's not going to impact the game like how it's supposed to do. And following up into that is MX Saber Invoker. This card was used in the Goki Gumblar deck and also a few other decks as well that were with Isolde, the Two Tails of the Noble Knights, and with Isolde banned. I'm still waiting for this to come off the list. I was hoping this would come off our last list to help with the Argo Star deck, because this is a way to get to the main monster of the deck, Argo Star Glorious Adria. But we still don't have anything like that in sight, because it summons an Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior monster from your deck. It would be great to have additional starters to get into that level 4 monster, because a lot of people have been theorizing and testing the Argo Star deck, and this is one of the main pieces that it feels like it's missing. And I really hope that this comes off the next Forbidden Limited list because of that reason. And it doesn't make sense that they're keeping this card locked up, because sure, it could be used in Multiple Chase, they're not going to use it anymore. It could be used in a lot of other interesting decks, and it could even be used in Goblin Biker. Just summon out a level 4 Earth Goblin Warrior monster so you can link the two away into an SP Little Knight. And realistically, that's fine. Summoning out an SP Little Knight nowadays is still good, but not really that impactful, especially with how the current form of the game is. Now, outside of that, the card has definitely aged to an extent where decks don't need it, because the decks that we have now have cards like this. Because if you look at things like Snake Eye, they have Bonfire, Snake Eye Ash, just to get to your pieces, Or especially nowadays in the current meta, look at something like Malice, where we have Malice in Underground, or even Malice Dormouse, which essentially just gets you another body on the board, which, in my opinion, is what Invoker tries to do. And sure, we will get hit by hand traps in all these cards, but realistically, Invoker is just one of those cards that's been sitting on the Forbidden Limited list for quite some time, that it's seen its play in Zodiac, it's seen its play in Gumblar format, but after that, it's been banned ever since, so I would say about 2019-ish to now. And I definitely think it's time for this to come off. And a lot of people are like, yeah, it's fine, it can come back, because they want to try stuff, but they're limited because of this restriction. I would love to test out Argostar, but I really would like this as another form of a starter. And after that, let's talk about two cards that people really want to see back. And I'm going to talk about this one first. Zoodiac Trident. We saw Barrage come back to 1. We saw Trident come back to 1 in the OCG. And honestly, with how things are, even in Master Duel, we have 3 Barrage, 3 Trident. And I think the only thing that's banned is the Rod Bolt and Rats at 1. And Zoodiac really hasn't been doing much, because we have decks like Ryziel, which does what Zoodiac did, but 100 times better, where they can end on ripping a couple cards out of the opponent's hand with Evilswarm Ouroboros, ending on a Ryziel Cross and a Detonator with 3 materials, so you get 3 quick effect pops. And people are like, oh, if they bring that back, people are just going to play Zoodiac Ryziel. No, they really won't, because Detonator just does what Trident does, but better. Ryziel is more consistent and better. And realistically, I do think that it's time to start peeling away these Zoodiac cards, because, well, it's really not gonna do much, in my opinion, and it's definitely time to let go of past fears and see what happens. And they could release them just to sell product, which we've seen time and time again. And especially with something like Zoodiac Broad Bowl. Nowadays, sure, we don't have Elder Entity Norden. We don't have a lot of these Exceed monsters or Link monsters that are legal. And in my opinion, being able to detach to search out a Beast Warrior, right now, when I looked at the Beast Warrior list, there's not really that many good options outside of something like Lunalight monsters or Tri-Brigade Fractal. So there is a niche that people can play, which is Zoodiac Tri-Brigade again, but that doesn't really stand up to what the game and the speed is now, because as time goes on, from things like 2017 to now, it's sped up so much that a lot of these older decks can't really compete unless you play a lot of these modern cards. And Zoodiac, you can play a lot of these modern cards. What people have been doing in the OCG, since they have the Barrage and Trident, they've been playing literal, oh, let's just stack up into a Zeus using Psalms of the King, Dominus Impulse, and Dominus Purge. And, or, well, the one that doesn't lock from Earth, I think that is Dominus Purge. No. I think, I'm not too sure. But, in my opinion, with how things are, Zoodiac has definitely fallen off, and I was like this with a few other decks throughout the years. Like, this deck has fallen off, things can come back, like Orcust. Oh yeah, this deck doesn't do anything with Harp, so let's bring back Harp in a few years. Or if we look at something like Sky Strikers, cool, let's bring back their stuff outside of Hornet Drone. Or even Thunder Dragon, because recently, in the past 2 years, I'm like, yeah, Colossus can come back, because not many are going to play it. And look what happened. Only deck that played it was Thunder Dragon and Ritual Beast, because Ritual Beast can utilize literally almost any monster that they really choose to. But in my opinion, both Zoodiac and Trident can come off the Forbidden Limited list because of how much there is going on with the game and how powerful the decks have become. And this leads into one that goes against what I said about stunning cards your opponent can do. So, number 86, Heroic Champion Rangominiad. This is a card that a lot of people really wish that we had again. And if we look in the OCG, it is forbidden, yes, but it's because of that exact philosophy and reason by stunning the opponents. So that's why I wanted to bring up this. Along with stuff like True King of All Calamities, these cards really can't come back, especially things like Azathoth. These cards that say, I can stop your opponent, can't come back. And I want to see cards that, hey, you can play and have fun with. Or you can play and see where things go. Especially like Zodiac and Invoker. I kind of want to see those cards come off, just in case if K9 is a Beast Warrior deck that could utilize these cards. And that is going to be something interesting to see what will happen. And finally, I'm going to be talking about number 42, Galaxy Tomahawk. Summon 2 level 7s, summon 5 tokens. Nowadays, that doesn't seem that good. And this was only used in the Danger FTK, the Firewall FTK. And that's impossible to do now. Sure, it is 5 free material, but nowadays, especially with things like Nibiru, you could Dominus Impulse this thing and people will cry. Because they just put all their stuff into this card just so it could just be stopped. But realistically, this is another card that through the age, it becomes worse, like how things of Dryden has become. Because if you look at it, Zodiac Dryden, powerful in 2017. 2022 with Pearly, or yeah, 2022, 2023 with Pearly, one of the two. 2023. Pearly, ex-Pearly Noir did what Dryden did, but better. And now we're in 2025. Ryziel Detonator does what Dryden did, but better. Token generations are still on the Forbidden Limited list, like Galaxy Tomahawk, like Phantom Skyblaster, which is still at 1 for some reason. But this card really definitely aged poorly. Sure, you could play it in stuff like Kashtira. It would be a buff to Kashtira, sure. But realistically, that's fine. Because people enjoy playing Kashtira. People want to play decks that are older. People want to try to see what could change in a deck if stuff comes back. And I know I'm ranting about stuff. And I always see people say, oh, bring back this, this, and this. But they don't think of the implications that it could have in the future of the game or the current era of what's going on. Like, when I look at Galaxy Tomahawk, I'm like, okay, Kashtira can have it. But they already do Draco Lines, which is better because it doesn't take up board space. But cool, you have a way to take 2 monsters, go into this, summon 5 tokens, and lose the Nib. Because the Deco Talker Heat Soul line already loses to Nibiru. And if you look at the impact of something like Carry M80, it would be cool to come back. But it's not going to do much. And I know that this seems like I'm just talking and talking, but I like talking. I like having a discussion with people and seeing how their thoughts are on certain cards. Like, people always say, I want low-level chain back. No, because if we look at what has been banned, we had Beatrice recently banned. So if this is banned, this stays banned. It's easy as that. Shockmaster is another example. It's like, you don't want this with Ryziel in the format. Because they will go, oh, I'm going to do my full combo and call spell cards. Or call trap cards. So it locks out of what you could do. That's why I don't like Floodgate as cards, because they say you can't play. So a lot of these cards, they don't really deserve to see the light of day again. Even though if it's something like Shockmaster that's made by Shueisha, same with the Utopic Zexal, those cards are ban-worthy. So these two, along with Beatrice, are all 3 Shueisha cards. And they could stay forbidden for eternity, or until something like Fiendsmith gets nuked out of Oblivion and no one plays rank 6s anymore. Beatrice could slowly, theoretically, come back. But low level chain is easier because it's in rank 4, and almost every deck can summon it. So it's a card that can never come back. But those are my 5 choices, being Wind Up Carry Zenmaity, Emek Saber Invoker, Zoodiac Broadbowl, and Dryden, along with number 42 Galaxy Tomahawk. Those are my 5 options for the Exceed monsters to come back, and honestly, that is absolutely fine, because I don't think anything from 2023 and forward should be coming back already. 2022 and before is on the table, for my opinion. And if you're asking where Kashtira Riseheart is, talk to me when they start hitting Kashtira, then I'll consider it. Same with Diablosis, the Mind Hacker. But anyways, I have been Bolt Spider. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. But anyways, I'll see you all in the next video.